Yes, they certainly did. A huge cheer, as you can see, as Ruben Amorim comes to join us. Thank you, Ruben. Good to see you.
Okay.
And congratulations. I'm sure you went through all sort of emotions during that one this evening. Just sum up how you're feeling at the end of it all, though.
In the end, it's good. Very difficult game. Game of duels, same system. I think they did a very good job. Southampton creating space between the lines, and then the number 20 with a lot of space behind. We had some difficulties to stop that player. But then when they lose the physicality in the end of the game, in the last 30 minutes, we find the space to use, and then we could change the game. But the feeling is that we have so much to do. I felt the team really tired because Liverpool, Arsenal, 120 minutes, and then it's not just tired, the physical part of the player, is the mental part of the player. So it was a win, was good, let's continue.
And Ahmad, the talisman again for you, delivering at the end. Just how key was it to get him in those areas where he can do that sort of damage for you?
Even in the first half, every time Ahmad has the ball, he can push the ball. Sometimes he cannot, he doesn't take one player, but he pushes the other team to the final third inside the box. And that type of players is really important. Like I said, we didn't do a very good game, but in this moment, winning is the most important thing.
I was going to say, Ruben, I felt after the Liverpool game where I think the performance was really good. I sensed after the game a bit of a frustration from you, from where's that been, where's that mentality been? That carried on to last week against Arsenal. I think you've been probably looking for a bit more of that mentality, that strength, that almost, what's the word? Enthusiasm for the game tonight, which wasn't quite there again for 70-75 minutes. And what do you put that down to? Tiredness playing there?
It's not just tired, but playing in this stadium. We lost the last 3 games here, and the pressure is different because we try to press the opponent in build-up, and you can feel it, the difficulties. And then Mateus between the lines and dribbling between the lines with creates a lot of problems, and we have difficulties to press high in the moment. Yeah. This team is not used to do that. And then it seems like lack of enthusiasm. So Ugarte is late, Kobe Mainu is late, Bruno going outside, the ball is inside. And then one transition and Lenny Yoro cannot catch the guy. These small things push the team behind, and then we get nervous without ball. But then when you have one click, one goal, one opportunity, you feel like the team can control better the game. Yeah. So I want to be fair with my players. Today was not a lack of enthusiasm, was a lack of speed, and sometimes lack of control of the game.
I was going to say, yeah, a lot's been made of your philosophy and the 3-4-1-2 system. I was just going to ask you, do you think you've got the players suited to that? And if you haven't, how long do you think it could take to get to that level?
First of all, it's hard. Of course, they are not used to play like that, yeah. Because you have to cover a lot of space, you have to jump, we have to change which player is jumping on the press, and then with the ball today, we saw that we have some patterns when the ball is in the sides of the pitch, but then we lose the duels. It's hard to explain now. We don't have the training, so I cannot tell you that they can do it or not. Yeah. But it's a different system. It's so completely different what they are used to do it. So I don't know how long it's going to take. But the profile sometimes you can understand is not the right ones. But we have to improve players, and we know the situation of the club. You have to continue.
Bruno, you mentioned there obviously the problems, but what did you say to them to solve it then at half-time? Because you looked frustrated, the ground was frustrated, and they weren't doing what you wanted to do. So what was you telling them then at half-time?
The first thing is more to close the middle and to push the ball outside, because we had a lot of problems, the ball between the lines. And then I told them to in the game of duels, we have to keep the ball. And sometimes you see it, the ball in the Ahmad or Nuz, ball inside, and Rasmus wants to turn the ball. We have to keep the ball, because just one connection change side of the game, and the field is open. and that I told them that in this kind of teams that they were pressing man to man, the simple things of good pass and movement, good reception is the key to the simple things is the key to get the chances. I think they improve in the second half.
Ruben, we have to let you go, but thanks so much for coming out to join us.
Good luck.
Thank you.
OK, welcome back. Sky Italy are reporting that Manchester United forward Alejandro Garnacho is Napoli's first choice to replace Kwicha Kvaratskhelia, with the Italian side under the impression the fee would be around £59 million. Despite that, Ruben Amorim says he sees a bright future for Garnacho at United.
Is he a player that you see having a good future at United?
Yeah, that is clear. He has talent. He needs to learn to play a little bit in a different position. He needs to play better inside. He improves a lot the recovering position when he doesn't have the ball. But doing that, sometimes he's not in the right place to make transition like he was in the past, because I prefer to defend and then build up with all the team to reach the final third. So he's finding the best way to play in this system. Is improving. Is improving during training. So he started the last game. Let's see.
Yeah, so we'll see. Nick, how important is Garnacho at United, do we think?
Well, positive words from Amorim there, but in terms of game time under the new manager, you have to say he does seem to have become less important over the last few weeks. So here we have a comparison between his numbers under Erik Ten Hag. Of course, he was a key player for Ten Hag, wasn't he? Regular starter. And here he is under Ruben Amorim on the other side. So 14 games played for Ten Hag, 12 under Amorim, but actually only 5 of those 12 appearances have been starts, so he has mostly been used as a substitute. Now we can see the difference in his productivity as well. He hasn't been as effective under Amorim. So under Ten Hag in those early months of the season, 5 goals and 3 assists in all competitions. That averaged as a goal involvement it was 0.84 per 90 minutes for him in that period. Compare that to under Amorim, and there is a big drop-off, isn't there? So only 1 goal, only 1 assist, and a goal involvement it's 0.28 per 90 minutes for him now. So a drop in productivity and a drop in playing time. So an interesting one there. Interesting to see what happens with his future, of course, with clubs from elsewhere looking at him.
So it finishes Manchester United 3, Southampton 1. Let's just take a look at what that means to the table for Southampton. They're done, aren't they? That's the end of them. They are currently sitting on 6 points. Meanwhile, for Manchester United, that victory lifts them above West Ham and Spurs up to 12th in the table. Julien Laurent joins us. We're from Jules in a moment, but Stevie, you're watching this game. How would you describe it overall?
There's absolutely no way Southampton deserved to not get at least a draw out of this game. They were by far the better side. United had a good 10-minute spell at the beginning, as you would expect. But after that, they got outplayed by a team who haven't won away from home all season. And at half-time, if you're United, you're scratching your head. The second half, generally, United put a little bit of pressure on, but never really opened them up. And then, of course, a couple of late goals, add on top of the third one, makes the scoreline look as though this was comfortable. It was anything but comfortable. And the only thing we learned about this game today was that every single thing we thought about United before those last 2 results against Liverpool and Arsenal, that's exactly who they are. Those 2 results are just fortunate, because today they were really, really fortunate to get 3 points.
Diallo saved their bacon.
Is it that easy to say?
Yes.
Like without him, we're having a completely different
conversation. Pretty much. Yep. Pretty much. This is a Southampton side they've one win this season, 3 draws, I believe that's right. 6 points. 6 points. This was going to be, but for Diallo, the lowest point of a low season and a low time in this club's history. This was going to be this is probably going to be the lowest. Primarily because Southampton have been so bad. So bad. I mean, they might not get... If they get to double figures in points, the mistakes they make, they're going to be lucky. And they, as Stevie said, outplayed United for long periods. Their manager said it in the interview after the game, for 75 minutes, They didn't look, Man United made them look like they were a sort of mid-table side. And then all these mistakes came back, and that's one of the reasons they're down there. If you watch Southampton, they make mistake after mistake. They try and play out from the back. They get caught, thinking back to the Chelsea game down in the South Coast. It's mistake after mistake, and that's what sends you down to the Championship. But, again, as somebody mentioned a game the other day, I can't remember who it was, if you swap the shirts on these teams, you wouldn't think that's Man United and that was Southampton. And I kind of think, and Ruben Amorim said yesterday, or the day before, was his press conference, he said, I'm going to learn more about my side today than I learned in the Arsenal-Liverpool games. And he was right. He was right. When their backs are to the wall, they can somewhat put up a fortress of a decent shape. When they're at home playing a much, much weaker side and they are asked and sort of forced by the home crowd to try and come out and play, they are utterly horrendous. And Diallo saved one of the most embarrassing results that they've had for many a year.
But it shouldn't have been like that, should it, Jules? They're riding this wave of optimism. Obviously, Arsenal, Liverpool going into this game, Southampton bottom of the table. If you were to set up the perfect picture for Manchester United to kick on, surely this should have been it.
I guess, although we've said all along, it's easier to put together a very good, strong, well-drilled defensive structure. You go 5-4-1 like they did against Liverpool and Arsenal, and then you wait, and then you counter when you can. And that's exactly what they did in those two games, and it can work, especially away from home, especially against teams that are better than you. But like I think Stevie said earlier, when you have the ball then, and Craig too, to be fair, you have the ball and you have to attack, and you really have no idea. And let's be honest, they scored 3 goals. The 3 goals that Ahmad scored are all down to him, and that 1-2 with Eriksen, I guess we can give them that. But apart from collectively, there was just nothing. There was really some patterns of play that we can recognize and we see what they're working on. There was really like a collective move where you could see the runnings and you could see the triangles, or you could see there was just none of that. I agree with the boys. I thought it was embarrassing for most of it. And really, I know those 2 results against Arsenal and Liverpool were good results for them. But really, they're 12th in the table and they play like a team that are 12th in the table. That was the 10th goal they conceded on corners this season. The most in the Premier League. 10, I think 8 of those 10s have come since Amorim took over. He had his assistant Carlos Fernandez, who's supposed to be the set-piece guy, standing up, like they all do now before a set-piece is taken. And he looked clueless, and his players were clueless too. And it was an embarrassing goal to concede again. And I just think that Ruben Amorim is smart enough to know that this was bad, and that really there's really nothing to celebrate apart from the hat-trick from Ahmad.
You've got to give him his due though, Ahmad Diallo. He's, hat-trick apart, whenever he gets it...
Well, he's exciting, at least he does.
He picks it up towards the edge of the box, and his first thought, almost every time, is to drive at a defender, is to push the full-back back, is to push the back line back. And that commits people, that gets a back line sort of backtracking. And at least he's got that, and the finishing. So that is something to cling on to. But as for the rest, I mean... Southampton at home, and it was such a struggle. I mean, if you had said to me yesterday, is it going to be perfect? Is it going to be fun to watch? I said, no, probably not, but it's probably going to be it should be pretty easy and pretty comfortable. But that was desperate. And I think that tells you exactly where they are, and, what's Ruben Amorim brought thus far that's not out with a defensive shape in big games? And the answer is, we know he plays a back 3. We know he likes to play generally 2 guys behind the front man a little narrower. What are we seeing in terms of a change in the football from Ten Hag? And I know it's very early, but you can go in and make a difference.
But he doesn't have the play. He doesn't have the players to play the system.
So this is it. This is the conversation we're going to be having now for the rest of time.
And the problem is, I'm saying that he doesn't have the players to play this system. Because people like Ahmad Diallo, they can't get him the ball. Southampton were playing out from the back and playing through Man United. Man United couldn't play through to Southampton.
Right.
So whether you've got Ahmad Diallo or anybody else, getting them the ball is a problem. And in the middle of the park, Manu and Ugarte were just non-existent. And then defensively, Yoro got absolutely torn apart by Sulemana. So even all the changes that Amorim made, he was forced into them. because there was absolutely nothing happening. But to go back to the point, whether he plays 3-4-3 or 3-5-2 or whatever he wants to play, they don't have the talent on the field. Regardless of the system, they do not have the talent in order to take the game to anybody.
But my argument would be they are mediocre at best.
Everywhere.
But they still have much, much better players than Southampton.
Right.
So why is it so difficult against a team that have been walloped by most of the Premier League?
They got beat 5 at home a couple of weeks ago.
Why is it so difficult for this side to... Can these players not handle the unrest coming from the stands at Old Trafford when somebody gives the ball away, or when Southampton score a goal and the crowd are moaning at you? Can they not handle that? Is that where it is? I mean, it has to be something, because we might not think Ugarte and whoever and Rasmus Højlund, we might not think they're the best players, Garnacho and whoever it is, but they're better than the opposition.
Yeah.
So it comes down to City. We spoke about City the other day. And basically, certainly I think it comes down to the mentality. And it has to be the same, because as you've said, on paper, they've got better players than Southampton. But if you can't produce it, that's got to do with your mentality.
Yeah.
And that's the problem they have. Do they have talent? You could probably argue yes. But they don't have the mentality that when they step on the field, particularly Old Trafford, they don't have the strength of character to take the game to the opposition.
And next up on Sunday, Jules, it's Brighton at Old Trafford.
Ooh.
Yeah, and that's again, it's a similar game, not so much today, because as we said, Southampton is one of the worst teams that we've ever seen in the Premier League, but it's a similar game to the Forest game, where United got just torn apart everywhere. It's a similar game to the Bournemouth game, where again, they were just not good enough, and Amorim was struggling to keep them in the game, struggling to find solutions to what the opposition, who are better than them, really. And I guess Brighton are still a young team, and I think maybe this is something. Old Trafford is quite an intimidating ground, as we saw today when they're pushing, etc. But really, you could clearly see a scenario where Brighton go to Old Trafford and just play them out of the park again. Because where do you go now? You've taken off Menu, Ugarte, Højlund so early in this game, half-time, start of the second half. You put Anthony on. What kind of message do you send to your own dressing room by bringing Anthony at half-time or after 50 minutes? And all he did was missing that sitter that Magnan would have scored. What kind of message? The guy has never played for you. He's not good enough. Every player knows about it. And you bring him on in a game like that. I find some of Amorim's choices really, really strange. I know he's struggling, and clearly you can see his attitude on the touchline. He's just not. There's no serenity there at all. I get that, but some of the things he does, it really makes no sense.
Sort of imagination to score goals.
You know, you sensed when the equaliser was scored, Danny, you heard them say it on site, you sensed a change of mood. Yeah. You could see the enthusiasm as he ran around celebrating that goal. I mean, the night just got so much better for him. But what did this prove for United, do you think?
There is a long way to go. I think when you look at Ahmed, it's 5 goals, 4 assists in 10 games in the Premier League under Amorim. And that's the type of play that he wants. Energy, desire, commitment, you know, never knowing when you're beaten, and he has been incredible. Now, the problem that you have, there's a lot of pressure on Ahmed now, and we've seen throughout the years with Manchester United, they're known for bringing younger players through, especially when they had that successful era. But there were senior players in the team then that could look after their own game as well as looking after the younger players, whereas now sort of it's the younger players that are sort of driving the game. OK, Menu was taken off at half-time. We've seen Garnacho fleeting in and out, but Ahmed's he's been absolutely sensational, and if anything, he's probably leading the way for a lot of the senior players.
How much does this maybe change the course of his career or his position, his role in the team at United, what he just did today?
He just continues to grow. I think I see him as one of those players at the moment that is having moments in games where the timing of the run's right, the finishing's right. It's one of those moments that you've just got to embrace and keep on going. At some point, he'll have a dip because of his age and his inexperience, and that's the way it is. But I mean, you've just got to ride that wave at the moment. I think what we need to point out here, and Danny makes a really good point, is that a lot of Manchester United fans will come away from this game very pleased with the result and think, oh, we're back and that's great. There's a lot of cracks being papered over there. That was a poor performance from Manchester United.
Well, these goals only began in the 82nd minute, Danny, so it was definitely a different story for the first half of this game.
It was, and I think, you know, yes, Manchester United have gone on to win the game 3-1, but it was always going to be, when Southampton took the lead, if Manchester United could get the next goal and there's 15, 20 minutes left, they'd probably go on to win the game because they're bottom of the league, Southampton, so their confidence is really low. We spoke about the Brentford game. They lose that game 5-0. It's 1-0 after 60 minutes. So, you know, it's positive as in terms of Ahmed, what he's doing. And let's not forget that he played right wing-back this evening as well. And to get a hat-trick is incredible. There's a lot of work to be done. And what I would say, yes, Manchester United won the game, but Amorim, once again, he will have learned more from this game as well, more so than the Liverpool game, the Manchester City game and the Arsenal game.
And that's what he said beforehand. He expected to learn more from this game just because of the expectation, perhaps, that came with facing Southampton. No doubt he was man of the match tonight.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host of NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch more videos all season long. And if you want even more Premier League content, from original series to live matches, head over to Peacock.